a new personality for the rest of 2025, and my personality's name is Rejection by Tony Tulathimutte. I'm obsessed with this book, so I decided to sit down and we're going to talk about this entire book together. I'm going to give you a full review and tell you all the things that I absolutely love about this book. I did make some tea, so I recently bought a tea set just because I wanted one to turn it into my entire personality. So I bought this little tea set off Amazon, and I've been obsessed with making tea now and just turning it into my lifestyle. So this is a tea talk book review, and I'm just gonna drink this tea now. Okay, thank you. I just feel like the most dainty old English woman. Oh, I love it. I feel like this is my lifestyle now for the next 3 days. Anyways, books, okay? The reason that we're here. So Rejection is a short story collection. It has 7 short stories in it, and they're all slightly interconnected. Like the characters, you'll see like the characters come back in certain stories. They're all loosely connected one way or another. If you know me, I hate short story collections. I just have a very poor relationship with them. I can never get invested. I can never get connected to a short story collection. They're just not something that I enjoy. I like getting immersed into a character's head and just like spending the book with them, okay? So short story collections are not my thing. I had multiple people recommend this book to me. My friend Chris was like absolutely raving about this book. He's like, you have to read this, it's so good. And I was like, are you sure about that? So I placed a hold at the library. I got my library copy in, and I was like, oh my god, I read the first story and I was like, I am obsessed with this. I need to buy a physical copy. Returned it to the library, literally purchased this, and started annotating the fuck out of it. Okay? This book is so good. So this book is satire focusing on the theme of rejection and just our modern society, mostly just the people who are chronically online and like our internet culture, and it really is geared towards millennials, I'd say, which I am a millennial, but this is focusing on just our modern society and how sensitive and just ridiculous everyone is, and really touches on the topic of virtue signaling, which I'll get into in a little bit. I will say this book is so witty, so clever, so smart. It's definitely an intellectual type book. It is dense, it's short, it's only 200 and some pages, but it took me quite a while to get through this one because it does get more dense as it goes on, which I will talk about. I just feel like this one is not something that you pick up if you want just like, oh, I'm just gonna blow through a quick short story collection. It is something that you have to take your time with, but the payoff is worth it in my opinion. The first short story is called The Feminist. This was my personal favorite one. It was the funniest one. It was so over the top funny and ridiculous. I will say each story gets a little less funny and a little more serious, and then it just keeps building up until the end. So the first one is definitely like the most ridiculous, over the top funny one. So we are following this guy who says that he's a feminist, he's obsessed with feminism and basically just virtue signaling and talking about the patriarchy and how he's an ally for women, and he doesn't understand why women don't want to date him. He thinks it's because he has narrow shoulders. So this story is just exploring this man who is so fucking delusional and out of touch, but he thinks that women don't want him because of his narrow shoulders, and he doesn't understand why women wouldn't want to date a guy who is as great as he is and, you know, is such a supporter of women's rights. And little does he know, like, they don't want to date him because he's fucking ridiculous. Like, look at the way that you're acting, dude. Yeah, so this story is basically following his like downward spiral into madness pretty much. And you're just seeing how he gets more and more negative throughout this story. I think this one was hilarious, but really touches on a lot of men that I've encountered online. Like, they think that they are some kind of holier than thou, best of the best individual just because they like speak up about social issues or whatever it is. The guys who say things that they think women want to hear, but in reality, it's all talk. Like the all tell no show sort of guys, right? The incels, if you will, okay? This story is hilarious. You do see him later on in the book. He is connected to one of the other characters, one or two of the other characters. Actually, yeah, at least two that I can think of. So you do see him in some other stories, but this was absolutely hilarious. The next story is called The Obsession. So we are following this woman who basically has a crush on her long-term friend, and eventually one thing leads to another. They have sex one night and she basically becomes like obsessed with him, and he's like, I'm not really looking for anything serious, and it sends her into a downward spiral. You are following her life then, and how this obsession with this man and how the rejection impacts her life negatively, and how this negative scenario that happened basically plays a role in the downward spiral of her entire life. Did that make sense? So we are following like her in a group chat. We get some like group chat text messages, which were hilarious. Kind of reminded me of my own group chat with my friends. And so we are seeing just how her other relationships and friendships in her life are impacted by this situation that happened. So again, this one was another really funny one. Absolutely loved it. This is probably like my second favorite story. I do feel like this one is probably the most relatable for most people. Like I found this one to be a little bit relatable to me with some of the things that were said and some of the things that went on. And I just feel like this one is probably the easiest one to be like, oh yeah, been there. That's happened to me. So love this one, obsessed. The third story is called Ahegao. This one we are following a gay man named Kant. Is that his name? So basically we follow Kant as he comes out as gay, and he has these very strong sexual desires. He has sadistic desires, and so because of these very specific sadistic sexual desires that he is unable to connect with someone fully. He really struggles with communicating his needs, and you see how this turns into, again, another downward spiral. There is a really long script in this one, like really long script that he sends to some guy to like make a porno. And it is the most detailed, graphic, like sexual, insane, wild thing I've ever read, and it was very irritating to me. So this was probably my least favorite story just because of that part. His urges and his needs and his inability to communicate affect his life. Just these like unrealistic desires that people sometimes have that they put onto other people. Fourth story is called Our Dope Future. This was probably like the second funniest one to me anyways, but this one I could see some people being annoyed by this one. So we are following this like tech entrepreneur in his early 30s, and he is obsessed with his business and his lifestyle and basically like productivity, and he's obsessed with making like futuristic technology, and he thinks that he's like doing so many great things for the world. And we're seeing how his obsession with work and productivity prevents him from fully connecting with others. This one is non-stop internet slang. This is why I think a lot of people might not like this one. If you're not chronically online, you might not have any idea what this man is saying. He's kind of like, what up? This is super dope AF, but do you mind if I spill the tea for a sec? Like, that is the guy in this story. It is just over the top, insane, and you just see his inability to like pick up on anything that's happening around him. He's so self-absorbed and completely out of touch. So that's that one. And then the next one is called Main Character. So the fifth story is kind of like the last story in a way, where it's the longest story, it's the most dense, it's the most serious, it's extremely well done and super, super clever in my opinion. So what I mean by that is this story is basically about this person named B, who is the sibling to Can't in the second or the third story. And this basically touches on B, who created a whole bunch of anonymous Twitter accounts to basically erase their identity, basically just be someone who is starting drama and just remaining anonymous. And we come to find out that you cannot escape identity. So this story is about race, identity, gender, pronouns, being perceived on the internet, like so many things. And the thing that I loved about the story, at first I was kind of like, what the hell is this? I was not sure if I liked this because the tone was so much different than the rest of the book. But as I got into the story, I could see what he was trying to do, and I was like, wait, this is so good. So this story is basically like the best way that I can describe this, excuse my language, is woke while making fun of woke people. Making fun of woke virtue signaling people, I should say. So like, you know, it touches on these issues with identity while being like, yo, if you're virtue signaling online, like a lot of people are, like, okay. So that is why I loved this story. So for example, I came across someone online the other day literally saying that she wants to dye her hair because she feels uncomfortable having blonde hair, and so she's going to dye her hair for the minorities. And I'm just like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, do you see what I mean? So this book is basically making fun of those kinds of people. So like the people that are like, oh, I'm going to be an ally so I can like look good online and basically like preach about things and make it about me and make myself look good. But then when like an actual opportunity to do something arises, or like whatever, okay, it's like, where is this person? I don't know. But yeah, it's just the people who take other people's issues and make it about themselves and then try to like preach online. That's what this story is touching on and making fun of, and I absolutely fucking loved it for that reason, because I'm so sick and tired of virtue signaling online. Like I said in my coffee talk, like the people who are like, oh, this book has commentary, so I'm automatically giving it 5 stars. But what about the book though? Like, you're just trying to be an ally online. So yeah, I mean, I love the fact that this story was serious while also being funny and satirical here and there. And we are seeing someone who is struggling with things like, you know, identity, pronouns, gender, race. And then you see all the other people in their life try to make it about themselves. And we basically get to the point where you cannot escape identity and you cannot escape being perceived by others. It was so well done. This story alone took me all day to read. When I say dense and complex, I mean this story actually took me an entire Sunday to finish reading. So that's why I'm like, this book is not a quick, easy read by any means. It is dense. So that's kind of like the last short story. And then the sixth one is called 16 Metaphors. It's literally just 16 metaphors about rejection. So it's super quick. It breaks up the seriousness from the fifth story and kind of just gives you something light and easy to breeze through. The metaphors do get more kind of in depth, I guess, as you go. They're all kind of interconnected, and I enjoyed it. It's probably something that's super rereadable. And then the last one, the seventh story, is called Rejection. So we are following the author himself, Tony. It's very meta. So it's Tony reading a rejection letter basically from the publisher of this book. It's a fake rejection letter, but it's basically like the publisher telling him why this book isn't going to work and how each story is going to be perceived by others. I love it. I loved this story so much. I think it was so clever to end the book on this meta note. I love meta aspects in books, which is not something that everyone loves, so be mindful of that. But I thought this was so fun and so clever, and I just loved how this ties in to especially that fifth story and how people perceive things online and through media, and I absolutely loved it so much. So yeah, I overall had such a fun time with this one. So the things that I loved about it personally were, like I said, it's funny, it's satirical, it touches on serious issues while making fun of literally everyone. Like, no one is safe in this book. It literally even mentions, there's a one-liner about endometriosis in here, which I thought was funny. So I definitely did not take this book seriously in a way where I was going to get offended. Some people are saying that this is pretentious, it's offensive. I mean, I don't think it's offensive by any means. It's literally making fun of everyone. And if you find this book offensive, it's because it's making fun of you. But if you find this book pretentious, I mean, I can kind of see, like, the writing is just smart. It's smart, it's dense, you have to think. So I can see how it can come across as pretentious. I just thought it was hilarious and smart. I don't know. I do like how strong these characters were. They were so well developed, and like I said, the reason I typically don't like short story collections is because the characters are typically never ever developed, and that's something that I look forward to in a book. And these characters, they felt real. They were all super unlikable, which is another thing that I love, but they felt so real in a way where I was like, I felt like I was sitting down and listening to them talk to me. That's how real they felt, and that's something that I really enjoyed. I like how some of the characters overlapped and were interconnected. It kind of allows you to put yourself in their shoes, because it'll be like, oh, this is the character from story one, and now we're getting the perspective from someone else and how they view him. And so you're literally being put in all of their shoes and seeing how they perceive one another. So good. But yeah, just lots of commentary about the internet and how being on the internet, and it's almost like being on the internet makes us all more connected to one another, but also makes us all more alienated at the same time. I really, really loved, there is a quote about the internet specifically. I tabbed it. Let me see if I can find it. It is in the fifth story here. The internet is millions of solitudes blinking in and out of existence, each dreaming the others, where consensus reality is less an agreed upon reality than a reality made of agreement. With identity, it's the same. This idea that a checkbox on a form is a service tunnel to a stranger's soul. People will always fall for it. It's a mistake to believe social media is all about hearts and thumbs, flames and eggplants. If everyone were only trying to be liked, then it'd be kinder and way more boring. But discourse is loneliness disguised as war. What people there really want is to be perceived on their own terms, which is so funny. Because if the grand promise of the internet was to be whoever you want, in reality it will make you whatever it wants, and beneath every mask is another mask mistaken for a face. Period. I sound like the guy in the fourth story. Period, sis. So good. I mean, just like the commentary about the internet itself and how that plays into perception, so good. You get the point. I won't keep blathering on and on and on, but I do think this book is catered towards a specific audience, specifically millennials. I think if you're not someone who is chronically online or you didn't grow up with the internet, you might have a hard time with this one just because it's so dense with internet slang. I mean, even myself, there were some things that I had no idea what he was talking about. I know some of my friends who are maybe like 35 read this book and struggled with some of it and had to look things up. Just because if you're not like chronically online and know internet slang, this might just be too much for you. But yeah, that was basically the only con that I could think of, because I genuinely love this book with my whole entire heart, and I am making it my whole entire personality, and I love it more than life itself, and we're gonna get married, and that's about it. That's all I have to say about this book. So I will stop yapping now. Go read it. Go read it and find out what all of our little characters are up to, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.